A lot of people think the biggest mistake they can make with a debt collector is ignoring the calls. But honestly, sometimes the bigger mistake is talking too much. People accidentally help debt collectors all the time without realizing it. They get nervous, they start explaining everything, and before the call is over, they may have confirmed details the collector did not have yet. They may admit the account is theirs, talk about a new job, mention money coming in, or promise payments they realistically cannot make. Most of the time, they think they are helping themselves, but these conversations can matter a lot more than people realize. A lot of debt collection calls do not sound aggressive at first. Some collectors sound calm, professional, and easy to talk to. That is part of what catches people off guard. The longer the conversation goes, the more likely people are to relax and start volunteering information. People begin explaining why they fell behind, what is going on financially, or how they plan to catch up. They may mention a tax refund coming, a new position at work, or extra income they expect soon. From the consumer's perspective, it feels like a normal conversation. From the collector's perspective, they may simply be trying to determine how collectible the account is. I'm Avia Gauthier, founding attorney of Gauthier Law Firm. Welcome to Inside Texas Law. Before we begin, please remember this video is for educational purposes only and does not create an attorney-client relationship. One of the biggest mistakes people make during these calls is immediately admitting that the account belongs to them. A lot of consumers hear that and wonder why it matters if the account really was theirs. The issue is that people often assume the collector automatically has every document and every piece of information needed to fully prove the case. That is not always true, especially when debts have been sold from one company to another. Records move, accounts transfer, balances change, and documents are sometimes incomplete. Every situation is different, obviously, but consumers should understand that just because someone claims a debt is owed does not automatically mean every part of the case has already been properly established. Another common mistake happens when people try to buy themselves time by promising a payment on a specific date. Usually, they are just trying to calm the situation down or get off the phone. The problem is that once those statements are made, collectors may now believe there is both an intention and an ability to pay. When the promised payment does not happen, the pressure often increases. The calls may increase, the urgency may increase, and in some situations, the account may move more quickly toward litigation activity because the collector now believes money may be available. This is also where people unintentionally start revealing too much personal financial information. They begin talking about work, money coming in, tax refunds, business income, settlements, or other financial changes happening in their lives. To a normal person, that may sound like harmless conversation. To a debt collector, it may sound like improved recovery potential. That is why consumers should be very careful discussing employment, income changes, banking information, or access to funds during these calls unless they fully understand the situation they are dealing with. Most people are not trying to hurt themselves when these conversations happen. They are stressed, embarrassed, or caught off guard. Debt collection calls are uncomfortable for a lot of people, so they start trying to explain themselves as a person. They want the collector to understand that they are not trying to avoid the debt or that they are a good person who just hit a rough patch. Those feelings are real and understandable, but debt collectors are generally evaluating the account itself, not whether someone is morally good or bad. Once consumers understand that difference, they usually become much more careful about how they handle these conversations. So what should you do if a debt collector contacts you? First, stay calm. You do not need to panic, argue, or explain your entire financial situation over the phone. In many situations, a much safer approach is keeping the conversation short, professional, and controlled. You can simply ask them to send their information in writing. That is often a much better approach than volunteering unnecessary details during a phone call. If a lawsuit has already been filed, this becomes even more important because many consumers assume that if they are talking with the collector, the legal process is somehow paused. That is not necessarily true. Court deadlines can continue moving whether settlement conversations are happening or not. Some consumers spend valuable time trying to work things out informally, while legal deadlines continue approaching in the background. That is why understanding where your case actually stands is so important. The bigger issue is that most consumers do not fully realize when a debt situation has shifted from ordinary collections into something more strategic. Once lawsuits become involved, the situation is no longer just about persuasion or collection calls. Now, you may be dealing with documentation, court procedures, deadlines, evidence, negotiation leverage, and legal strategy. Unfortunately, many consumers weaken their own position before they even understand the rules they are operating under. Usually, the earlier someone gets informed and understands their option, the more control they have over how they respond. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to Inside Texas Law for more plain English videos about debt lawsuits, debt collectors, and consumer rights here in Texas. If you are currently dealing with a debt lawsuit, contact information for Gauthier Law Firm is in the description below. You may also want to watch our videos about what to do after being sued by a debt collector in Texas and why ignoring a debt lawsuit is exactly what debt collectors want. Those videos explain some of the biggest mistakes consumers make during the early stages of a debt lawsuit.